welcome to Facehammer show. It's been a while
Hello.
since we've
It has
both
been a while,
been on.
hasn't it?
Yeah. In this show, we are going to talk about the armies from Facehammer GT that we shortlisted for Best Painted.
Some good ones. I mean, there normally is in our event, isn't there? We had some returning favourites, and we also had some people who had quite a few people that were nommed for our first time with them and maybe their first time ever as well, from the comments that I saw from people. Which is cool.
Which is good because I think some of the armies were we had a little bit more this year. Normally we do 12, we did 15 out of an event of 60, so it's 25%. Yeah, so we had a few people this year that hadn't had nominations before, as you said, which is good. The standard was quite high. I think the very, very top was, there was a clear divide between what I call solid standard and top standard.
Yeah, there was a fat middle this year, wasn't there? We both commented on this. There are a lot of armies that you see from 6 feet away, which is the first point you judge an army from, first impressions or whatever. And we had to get closer because they warranted a second view to see if they were worth a nomination. I think people around, it's a very experienced crowd that come to our event, and the people around here have got very, very good at producing a nice army that doesn't take the piss at all, that has had some corners cut, but not noticeably. And there are a load of really good, effective armies.
I think that's the nature of competitive Age of Sigmar as well. You kind of need to be able to put something out quickly because the game shifts so much. If you've got a paint scheme that's complicated to execute, you're not going to be able to adapt your army quick enough.
You can't take 3 months to add a unit if you want to be chasing stuff or countering the meta or beating the meta or beating the FAQs.
Or even, to be honest, sometimes it's not even trying to be the best. It's just that your army's points get jiggled and suddenly you've got 100 points spare. Yeah. And Travis was saying about in his list that he suddenly had to paint extra stuff, which is then putting more pressure on the deadline because they adjusted things. Yeah. And I say, would hate to be a Deepkin player because I think my 2,400 points I had is now less than 2,000 points from when I did it. So I would have to actually go and paint some things.
Get a bit slower as well, right? There's more stuff to do, and you've got 20% more models on the table.
It's kind of a different discussion about the flaws of adjusting points to try and balance the game, but we can do that for another show. So
interesting for another day.
In this, so we're going to go through the armies. So I got some photos and we'll go through so you can see them. I will post an album online, which I'll put a link down to be on the website, so you'll better go and look at them on the website in your own leisure. But I just thought we'd do a quick show and show off what was there because there's some nice armies. And I think what I'm trying to say before your fire alarm interrupted things is that there was a lot of people that are solid and they could have been in this list, and it was there was some very borderline ones that we had 15 nominations, which is more than we normally do, and I think that's kind of we don't just give them out willy-nilly. And there was a couple guys, I think Tom said the chat, it was just greatest achievement of 20 years of playing or something, which is nice to see.
Super nice. Yeah, people hadn't skipped basing. I think that's one of the major reasons we had so many considerations, right? There's a few
faces and flags. Never.
Yeah, you normally pick people up on. We'll come to flags when we come to the top 3, I guess.
May have been
always worth doing.
Comment.
Always worth doing. But yeah, if you base your army well, one of the easiest ways to get rid of something for considering it is when people are scrimped on basing. And I would say the average competence of basing was probably the highest it's ever been at one of our events.
Yeah, I think everyone had interesting basing, well executed. So let's get into the armies. So we start off with Paul Buckler. These are in no particular order other than what I photographed them in. So, and this is his Seraphon army. Some cool conversion work. So he's got his Bastillodon, which is made out of I don't know what it's made out of, but it's a big weird armored lizard thing with a ray gun and a shield, just cool, which is this in here. And he's stuck his slan on the hammers end the spell, the vortex.
Good idea, that one.
Gives it some height, gives it some presence.
Does, yeah. So it's just the right size as well, right? Like if it was a bit bigger or a bit smaller, that might not work, but it's pretty much about right. Even if he does look like a little funny froggy ice cream.
Yeah, don't lick him. Like lick the toad.
Might be fun.
Might be fun. I'll have to ask those people that do that. And then you've got the kind of he's used the war cry temple, which has got, it's got the little bamboo platforms on it, which I think is quite nice. If you garrison it, you could put your model stood on it rather than
yeah.
You know, if it can still be garrisoned. I can't remember now. Change the rules too often. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
This is like the definition of solid competence, this army, isn't it? Yeah. Like everything has been done. There's interesting aspects to it. It's got a variety of heights in it. It's got conversion work. It's got a scenery piece. Most armies have a scenery piece these days, but it's been done in a way that fits the army, and that's been converted a bit too. Yeah, just super competent.
Yeah, and then we do basically, so it works in the event. We do cool list, and we do like 1, 2, 3 painting, and it's judged, so it's not player voted. So some armies are up because they're just cool. And I think Tom Blacksoul's like ogres. It kind of is that quirky, conversion sort of army.
Yeah.
I really like his iron blaster made out of the big crab.
It's a good idea, isn't it?
Like super cool.
Striking too. He's got all the ticks. If you're like, what things would you tick for extra effort in an army? Yeah. There is free hand. There is conversion works or alternate models.
I think the banners are really nice. They're like really like they almost like you almost miss them because everything else is so colourful.
But it's because they suit the army as well, right? Like the style of them, that kind of tribal style, is both appropriate and a little more forgiving than trying to do something photorealistic. And he's not gone like mega bright white or super bright red. He's used that kind of burgundy. I think it's just a list of really sensible decisions here. It's crowd pleaser as well, isn't it? Like absolutely always.
Yeah, but there's a lot of green stuff work as well. Like you can see that some of the beards, the mohawks, there's no gut plates on them. They've all got bellies with pants. So I think that's quite a subtle thing. It's easy to miss. Yeah, they're just ogres, but actually the work of making them look like different. And the basing's very colourful, like you say.
Yeah, it is. That's really smartly done. He always puts effort into his stuff.
And it's his kind of under the sea theme.
Under the sea.
And then we get into John Serrano, who's got his he always does quite quirky armies, which can be a bit hit and miss. This is actually a Nagash Soulblight list. What I really like about this is that although Nagash being a Vermin Lord's a bit weird, it's still converted and it's kind of meant to be some sort of whippity snap demon, which is cool. But I really like the two picture frames for the spell portal. I think that's really clever.
Such a good idea, isn't it? Like just little touches, solid basing, variety in models. He's also displayed it well, which that goes a long way, doesn't it? Like his little people standing around their cauldron in the middle. It's kind of a little bit more of a narrative way to display things.
Yeah, and it's super well executed, so it just looks really effective. Again, interesting basing, some nice color in there, some nice conversions, some freehand on the actual mirrors. So yeah, super cool. I mean, I know he's done armies before that are kind of like done out of like masks and things, which are a bit weird. But this is at least a little bit more. I'd always say it. It's a little bit more like obvious what it's trying to be.
Yeah. Steps a bit more to being close to canon. Those 3 bats are doing work, aren't they? If you imagine that display without them, without that different silhouette, without that, it'd just be biggest guy, one of, and people on foot. Them in there is doing a really large amount for kind of, I guess you call it the army silhouette as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's got his like 3 weird crones around the cauldron. One of them looks like it's pregnant,
great, don't they?
Which is disturbing. Yeah, and then the Gash conversion, the head's very interesting. So I think it's meant to look like the demon that's in the picture, but Cool.
isn't it?
And then onto Tim's Null Myriad OBR, which has been featured before, I think.
Returning favorite.
Yeah. Just line highlighted to crazy levels.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, OBR, one of those armies that if you spend the effort, it's a lot of time, and it's almost like you could do a quicker job. And then the difference between like a quick job and a very high end job, the payoff's like quite small.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'd hate to be like painting all those skulls in Arcan's mount, because I think that'd take forever. But
they're kind of a bit old school in that way, aren't they? Like a lot more of the modern models, you get a progressive curve in time spent is like visual reward gained. I feel like OBR, you've got surprisingly good result very fast. We had an example of that at the event, actually. Maybe a couple of examples of that, actually. At Andy's, didn't we? You know, there's a couple of them about. And then there's this great big gap. This is what old metal models used to be like. And then at the very end, once you've ground in, you know, like whatever this is, like a year's worth of hours, you're like, oh, sweet, they're amazing. But there's a lot of patience to get the payoff in order to get to that stage.
Yeah, and I like the fact that the banded armor's done extremely well. So
they've got some of the best shields and armor plates in the Warhammers, haven't they?
Yeah, just to get those reflections in the right place is a lot of work, especially over an army.
Do you think this one suffers from being a physically small army model count wise? I know he's maybe particularly on this board, because I know he's used this board before.
I think the board detracts. If I'm honest, I would rather have the army kind of closer together. It looks a little bit lost on the display, but I think because he used to have a lot more Mortec guard and things, and points increases, kind of make the army way more elite. I would say that obviously it's got Arcan and Catacross, which like really does reduce the number of models you can take, but it's still very nice, the display board. I don't know.
Lovely.
I still think it's great. So
yeah,
it's
all of it's really well done. I just feel like if you got a black cloth and put it over the front half of the board and push the army to the back, you know, you'd then get an idea of the potential of it as it stands. But obviously, making a board that nice, you kind of want to use it, don't you? Yeah,
I just think the basing, because the army models are predominantly black and stylized, the basing kind of breaks that immersion, and because the display board's like a massive base, it kind of oversaturates the palette with like an orangey brown, and I just think it's maybe a bit too strong.
Harder to pick them out, maybe.
If you put them on like you say, a black cloth, the basing would be a smaller color in that visual experience of looking at the army. So
especially when you got a smaller army, like yeah, I think so, maybe. Because
I just think maybe the models almost look a little bit lost, you know, and you kind of look at the dry brush texture, which is still done very well, but I don't know, it's still amazing, but you know.
Oh, it is. I think probably like in terms of like technical competency, this is just any single tournament it goes to, this is going to be the first and sometimes second best done. But it's pretty rare that it would not be the first best technically, as in like the steps gone through perfectly, or you know, to a ridiculous degree. People don't do this many stages this precise on armies because normally they've got more sanity than that. But he puts those hours in, doesn't he?
He does, and Tim was one of the 3 that we shortlisted for the top 3, because there was 3 that basically were in a different league, and then we had to decide between them. He also picked up the Chosen Award from the event, which is gaming score and like lots of soft scores with the paint competition added together. So narrowly missing out, and a nice segue was this is Tom Hewitt's army. So it's he's got an Alarial Beetle in flight with wings, which are really nice. They're really
really creative conversion, that one, isn't it? And it's convenient as well, because the way that the kit assembles, just such a smart, like, engineer's brain way of thinking of the mini.
Yeah, it's a very clever use. I like the use of the Warcry skull as well. I really like that terrain. I painted some of that with I'm following the Cult of Paint video using oils, and it is the textures and the way, I mean, apart from assembling it, which is a nightmare, the terrain itself is just absolutely gorgeous.
It's mental, isn't it?
It's so good.
And so really appropriate for his army.
Yes, yeah. I'm surprised you don't see more of it particularly like Nurgle trees and stuff using gnarl oaks and things like that. You could do like quite a lot of it. So, but very nice army. I think it's a little bit. The paint job's a little rough around the edges. You know, like it's kind of. It's almost a conversion. The color palette also, I think, is a little bit too similar across the board. But maybe that's just me.
It's very distinct. I was actually going to ask you how do you feel about the pastel-y palette? I really like it, but I can absolutely see it being divisive. I almost feel like the
it looks like it needs a contrasting color to like offset. So like Alaria almost looks the same as the Beetle. It's hard to see where she finishes and the Beetle starts, and then the sort of the army itself is very monochromatic, but with color, which is weird.
I feel like the blue maybe doesn't fit into the equation as well as the other colors. The turquoise, because you've already got yellow, green in there. I think the turquoise that you can see on Mr. Panpipe's dude and some other spots of the army, I think that works out okay. But I think maybe going to such like a clean, magic-y blue, maybe that's the thing that I would.
I just don't think there's enough contrast between different areas of the model.
Yeah.
It's too similar. Like I know like that greeny yellow is still pastely washed out, and then you've got, like you say, the blue, but that's very similar to that turquoise and the grey. Yeah. So the wood is very similar because it just looks like unwashed grey, which I know Tom obviously done quite a good job to get it all ready, and I know that his color theory is obviously extremely good, but I don't know. So it almost looks to me like it's not finished, and I think it probably has been rushed a little bit. I would like some sort of bold, dark color to offset, whether it's like a crimson or a dark black green or something, just something to really offset the models. But I don't know. It's
hard one, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like
begging out for like an orangey brown or something. But
I could see that. Or the other thing I could see is like, let's say you took the bone on the base up to an ivory similar to the ivory that's the beetle, and then in the beetle's recesses you put like a deep brown just to separate things or something.
I almost think the beetle should be like dark turquoise bottle green, and it would like really stand out,
separate it from its rider.
If all the weapons were bright orange, like that would really stand out, if
those
they
weapons are a joy to paint as well. Like
because they almost look the same as the skin. Maybe he hasn't finished the weapons, I don't know, but I'd say that if they were like orange, like done like hot orange, like power weapons, I think that would really pop. I still think it's really good, don't get me wrong. I know it's sounding hypercritical, it's just because we know Tom, and so for me it didn't quite have Tom's usual pop of colour. I think
it's a brave one, isn't it? Like you have to reward bravery with armies, because I just think you should. It's what encourages interesting things to come out. But you're always a little bit more at risk with bravery. I wonder if he does do anything else to it. I wonder if he can send us a picture. Maybe you could just play with one of the little guys or something like that.
And even if just some like red gem spot colours and stuff, like Lariel's detailing, or some gold, or just something to break up the colours a bit. So
if you want to see how to do amazing army basing, by the way, with not like Tom's really efficient with his steps, and he's very well considered with his approach. I know this looks incredibly complicated, but I wouldn't be surprised if Tom did this in about half the amount of stages people thought. Obviously, building them physically, there's no way to kind of rush that. But this basing is just out of this world. Like for an army, it just sells whatever is on top of it so well, so competent.
Yeah, super good. So that's the Tom's army. Then we got Jack Crink's Trogoffs.
Yeah, I really like these. I had a nice chat with Jack just before he went home, because he smashed his last game pretty aggressively and was about to jump on the train. But I love this army. On the subject of color palettes, I think this is like, I just love how deserty this feels. All of it.
And the trolls like naturally would probably be similar to the environment they're in, right? They wouldn't be like a different color. One of the favorite things I really like is the troll hags like reddy brown rocks like poking through the sand. I think that's really good.
It just looks realistic, right? I spoke to him about specifically this when I chatted. He was asking if I do any, would I do anything else to the basing, and I said maybe get some tufts or something. But I think that just looks like you pulled a reference picture from the internet and made it into a base. It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, super nice. I do like the endless spell as well, like the moon, the purple moon. Like it's yellow and purple. It's just classic,
Gonna work, isn't it? He's got I'm trying to see if there are in any pictures. There's a few little dots of a very bright magenta used extremely sparingly. As well, you can see some potion bottles on the back of one of his characters.
Yeah, the Gobblepalooza, the mask is done in like that magenta as well.
Yeah. Like really, any more than that, I think it would be too much. You can actually see in the eyes of his endless spell, the not moon one as well. He's got some little glowing eyes in there. And,
the Maelstrom's really nice, the paint job on that. I don't really see endless spells painted nicely very much.
He painted them, so he's had this army for a while, and it includes some of his earlier painting, and it includes some of his more recent painting. And I don't think it suffers from the difference in the two, but you can tell that he has improved as a painter. Mm-hmm. Really, really shows. The one piece of feedback I gave him was the orange kind of crystals in the weapons of the trolls. If he takes like a little bit of a purple and pushes it into the deeper shades of that, just a subtle one, that'll exaggerate them and make them look more transparent and glassy. But he's this is a perfect example of like if you wanted to sit down and spend like a week of 2-hour evenings only on this, you could have it up to an insane level.
I think as well, like if you just gloss varnished the crystals, so they actually caught the light differently. You get absolutely. It does a lot of work for you in natural light, where you walk and it just catches your eye. Like I found that with my high elves, that when you gloss all the gems, it makes a huge difference. Yeah,
really good call. Efficient too. Maybe a bit of both, maybe a tiny bit of purple in the recesses and a gloss varnish. Give it a try, dude. Do it and then send us a pic.
And then we get on to like Travis's army, which was one of the shortlisted top 3. He was still painting the hotel, but if you look at the sheer number of models, again, there's interest in basing. He's got like ruins, he's got sand, turf, skulls, non-metallic metal sort of stylized version on the armor, lots of freehand on the banners, some freehand on the wings. I think it's probably stencils, but still.
Yeah, doesn't matter if you transfers or stencils, it looks good.
Yeah. And ironic, always the same with Chaos Warriors, the back always looks better than the front, right? So
yeah, right. It's cloaks.
But if you look at the sheer number of models, it's like, that's a lot of models to paint to that level. Particularly Chaos Warrior models, because they have so much detail on them. Like
they do. This is a consideration, right? Maybe one that people don't think of when they're wondering because it's judges voted rather than player voted. I wonder how many people would think that it's normal to consider the volume of an army when you're considering it. Like you get visual impact, but also it is just a lot more work.
Yeah, and I think
the cloaks on every model, that's a lot of cloaks.
Visually, it's more interesting as well to have he's considered the models he's used because he wanted to use stuff that had a theme, had similar textures or areas. He could get the blue cloth on pretty much every model, but he wanted that, so that's why like the Untamed Beasts work nicely, and then with the loincloths on the Veridons and the cloaks on the Warriors, some of the choices in the army are just he likes the model, like I don't know what he's called, like the centaur dude, particularly rubbish in the game, but like
Solid Mini. That's one that turned up at Golden Demon a couple of times. He's got height, he's got volume, he's got variety at the same time as coherency. Like everything is distinct in silhouette, but similar in theme. And the basing obviously is really solidly executed. There's nothing like like sand on the base rims as well. Like it's very hard to find typical mistakes on this army, I'd say.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that if you are painting an army, like the black rim not being messy and not having other paint streaked on it, or like the
I can
rims
see.
just being neat, makes a huge difference.
Yep.
So please don't do that.
You're just giving someone the easiest way to say, like, we won't consider this.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, like massive gaps and mold lines, or, you know, something that's been primed from above but it's grey plastic from below. There's a few things that you'll get rewarded for. And as far as the ease of it as well, like, you can just scrape some sand off it if it's stuck to the edge, then paint it. You're good.
Yeah. And then we get into like Dave Roberts' OBR, which is kind of like how you can do effective OBR fairly quickly using
Absolutely
washes and dry brushes and some spot colors. And he's done a really good job on these to look what I would call, you know, just effective as an army.
Yep.
The basing again is very nice. You've got
really good
brown and grey. The brownie textures is kind of smoother. The grey rock, it's nicely blended. There's some skulls. There's different colour like flowers and tufts going
as well,
on.
doesn't
It looks
it?
very
Looks
good.
like he's taken like a nature reference photo and then it's been like, sweet, I'm going to exactly execute that with texture paints and colours and stuff.
Yeah, and some dirty airbrush blendy things for effect, which like the weapons could probably just do with some brushwork, edge highlighting to like just pull up those areas and that. But super effective. I know he's super happy with it, so I think it's a really nice army. So
absolutely, guess it takes variety and volume as well, doesn't it?
Exactly. And then we get on to Matt Alswell Haggett's army, which is again one of the other three that we picked out. And again, the basing's super nice. You've got the the slate sort of rocks with the really sharp edging, a very dark palette.
Yeah.
You know, similar colors. You've got like the purple, the crimson, the black blue. It all kind of blends in, but the freehand banners are like outstanding as well.
They're just great. I think there's some more recent examples in here as well as some older ones, and they are absolutely fantastic. I think Brad told me that it takes him about I think he said it takes him like a couple of hours, and he just kind of commits to the idea that he's going to do the scary process, and he goes in and he does it. But people talk about the banners to the exclusion of the other stuff. Basically everything about this army is great. Like all of it.
I think my favorite thing is probably the chariot. Like, I just think it's so good. You don't see that model done to that level, you know.
It looks regal as hell, doesn't it? It looks like perfectly out for a deathly procession.
And I like the transition on the beast to like the light coloured hands with the dark claws. Like, he's done that on the cats as well.
It looks great all over, doesn't it?
It's just so well done.
Using nice models, guys. Even if they're not good in the game, they're very good at looking pretty. And then if you do a good paint job on them and kind of centerpiece them, it just stands out so much. The Stormcast have got like plenty of derpy anatomy as well, whereas these guys are quite cool.
I think he's used a lot of like unhelmeted heads to good effect.
Yeah, he has.
The skin tone's super like pallid and sickly, which is good. It's funny because the banner faces look more healthy than the actual Stormcast, which I get that because they're kind of like they're almost like resurrected so many times, aren't they? That they lose a bit of their humanity. So I kind of like the idea that they look a little bit more undead, or sickly. Yeah, I really like this army. It's been at our event multiple times, but he's always got new units or done something. So yeah, it's a great example of like a dark color palette, which is normally those sort of armies are very easy to just walk past and miss. Executed to extremely high level.
For sure. Just give people an excuse to pause for a second, and then they can appreciate everything else. Again, like nothing like sand on the rims, dirty rims, anything like that as well. Like cleanly presented, crisply.
Yeah.
On that subject.
Yeah. More pictures. I've got a lot of pictures of that. Then we got Dean's Nurgle, Chaos Warriors, which are super good. Again, effective slime basing with like sort of just the sheer amount of hours of painting all those areas, like the trim, the armor. It's just it's just so much trim.
This is extremely solid, isn't it? He's blocked in his areas. He's left gaps between them, which you can do with washes, but he's left them. So like negative black lining, you'd call it. Everything's separated. Again, you turn these models around the Chaos Warriors, so they look great from behind. Cohesive scheme too. You've just got a couple little spots of purple, and then everything else is kind of within that same very appropriate range, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, super solid effort. Really like it. And then we have the Sons of Bear map by Steve Wren. So again, a nice, really interesting looking palette on these. Basing again is pretty incredible.
A1. Yep.
Like, does a lot of work basing. You can see one of the coins that people got for being nominated. He left out of his army, but yeah, just super solid. Like, I know it's not what he would consider his best work, but it's just very, very competent, you know.
Absolutely is.
Interesting use of like color variation in the skin and the lighting as well.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, if you want a reason why basing is important, look at these models and what percentage of what we can see. I mean, Kragnos, there's probably an equal volume looking at, like, you know, as a 2D shape of base to model. That's why basing's important. It's half of what we can see here.
Yeah, especially with Suns, because their feet are two little points and the bases are massive flat discs. So my bases are very intricate on mine. I've got like full on ruins and everything on mine. It's just because you can see it all, you know. It's
absolutely. And you can paint your models on it without it being awkward as well, because you got access, which is kind of a bonus.
And then we've got this Sinesh army by Ben, which is the basing again. It's like, you know, turquoise, jade, black sort of obsidian marble type look across the whole army. He's got like a see-through mirror with like, he's done on the Fane, he's done it like a disc of purpley transparent. You can kind of see the sort of the thing behind showing through.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Very well, you know, again, it's red, purple, very consistent. Purple and green, never be seen, apparently, but it does work very well. So I know a lot of Skaven armies, purple and green always look really good with red accents. So it's that similar look. So
big army model selection too.
Yeah. It's a lot to paint. It's a lot to assemble. Just look at those bliss barbs getting coming out in the hives. So yeah, is super nice. I really like this army. Then we got Tom's OBR, again, another example of just well executed. Again, the basing, although it's a lot simpler, it's still got the texture. It's got the
looks so realistic, doesn't it?
It does. It does. It looks like dried, cracked ground. You know, I like the fact it harkens back to the old Tomb King color scheme of golden turquoise with red.
If it ain't broke. Yeah, absolutely.
It works, right? So
one of the things you get with armies like this, I find, like, Catacross's base is so good. Not this one, but I mean in general, not specifically. That one of the things you get with armies that involve him is one of the first places people are going to look is Catacross, because he is the centerpiece. They'll clock how nice his base is, and then as long as you've done that elsewhere, it just kind of pulls the army together. So because his base comes, like the Saturn comes up his base, and it's got a great big skull, and it's got the difference in the rock and the sand. You look at that first and you're like, oh, sweet, that does actually look really good. That's really nice basing. And then you're kind of forced to look elsewhere and you're like, all of it has nice basing.
Yeah.
Every single army with Catacross in, my eyes do the same journey.
It's like having a display model in the middle of your army, isn't it? So it's great. He does so much work in the game and for painting.
Heavy lifter.
He is heavy lifter. And then you've got Richie's KO, which although he had a broken boat, I think he fixed it. But yeah, these again, it's just solid. I really like the blue on the boat. I wish there was more blue on the actual infantry.
Yeah, like a little,
like on the shoulder pads and the helmets and stuff, like, because you could do them like, because the models, I don't know if anyone's ever actually like assembled or painted these, they're so intricate.
They're a nightmare.
Yeah, they are. They're horrific.
21 pieces each for the infantry, the bubbles.
Yeah, I think if they've got the mines, they're 24 piece. So yeah, I remember when I assembled the 9, and I was sat there like I literally want to kill myself because the pieces are so small I could barely pick them up. So it's yeah, nice.
I do agree with you about the blue. Hadn't thought about that until you said it, but
Just needs more on the army. You know, just I just say like the shoulder pads, the helmets, just something. Because he's got the shoulder pad on the navigator, so the navigator's got a blue shoulder pad. I think if you put more
left
of that,
shoulder pads everywhere, it'd do work, wouldn't it?
just the shoulder pads and the top of the head. If you just did those 3 areas, because you look down on the army, but then like the discs in the middle could be the yellow color, very classic sort of color scheme. I think there was a squat force that had like, I think they were green and yellow, but they had like yellow discs in the middle of their shoulder pads. So back in the day, yeah, still like it. Still looks great. Basin's nice. So yeah, well executed. And then we've got Ben Savar's sort of catalogue of horror Soulblight army with his huge, amazing centerpiece of Nagash in his throne.
So good, isn't it? I mean, this one's probably got the best example of an extremely disciplined, not a toe out of line color scheme, right? Like you look at this and all of it just works. It's in the right ranges. It is appropriate for the theme, being scary stuff. The bases don't steal attention from the models or, you know, divert attention from the models in any way. Nor do they just fade into nothingness. I think this is a really balanced set of considerations in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and like the zombies like almost look like they're just living bases, but I mean, I think it's quite clear what things are. Again, you've got the 2 paintings for the portals. The corpse cart conversion is really nice, but obviously Nagash is the centerpiece. That's the thing that's drawing everyone's eye in. So yeah, great.
Got some wings in there as well.
Yeah, some nice sort of fury / fellbats, whatever they are. Yeah, I really liked his Kado, like vampire lord model, and that was cool. But yeah, so that was we gave this the coolest army, mostly just for that centerpiece, really, I think. So that kind of wraps up the show, talking about the armies from Facehammer GT. Hopefully you enjoyed just looking at them and have your opinions of what one you think's the best one. We awarded Travis number 1. And again, there wasn't really much to pick between these 3, so we struggled a little bit. Then Matt Oswald as 2, and then Tim Pierce in 3rd with his Ossiarch Bone Reapers. And we awarded coolest to Savar, Benjamin Savar. So yeah, it was really good. It's a really good showing. I think like between Travis and Matt Oswald, it's almost like Travis almost like pipped him by sheer number of models, maybe. I don't know. But looking back at it, Matt's army is one of those ones that I just love it so much.
Right. I guess you'd say Travis's just had presence, you know, literal presence by volume as well as by competency.
I think it helped as well that he's obviously travelled all the way from Australia, not just for our event, but pretty much. And we've not seen it before.
Yeah.
And like, although like Matt's and Tim's, I know it's not really a factor, but they have both had that army at Facehammer before.
Yeah.
So it's like Travis's is new, and it's very, very well done, and it's cool, and you're like, oh, but then you kind of start looking at these small little things, you know, and then you think, oh, there's this, there's that, to pick up on, but they're all like minute things, and then you could put those 3 in any order, really.
Yeah, the top 3 was probably the closest between them that we've had ever, I think. Yeah,
I think so. I would say that normally it's like there's a clear winner, and you're looking at 2 and 3 maybe, but this was kind of, oh, this is going to be difficult. So, you know, since Graham Shirley hasn't been for a few years, we haven't really had a standout to just
Max
award
as well, weren't we?
Yeah, I think Max was on the list, so that would have made it really interesting if he made it as well, because his army is super, super amazing. So yeah, but that's the armies from Facehammer. hopefully you enjoyed the show, and we will talk about the painting competition in a separate video. Just run out of time today, but hopefully you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you all in the next one.
Yeah, I got some more stuff coming soon. See you guys.
Cheers. All right. Bye.
Bye.